My name is Guy Battle. I am the Chief Executive of the Social Value Portal, and delighted to welcome you all here to have a discussion. Really, myself and Nana are going to present, but looking at how to integrate social value into real estate development, and we'll sort of explore this over the next 15 minutes. I can also introduce Anna. Anna, do you want to tell everyone who you are?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. I'm Anna McChesney-Gordon, the head of consultancy at Social Value Portal. So we'll be presenting a bit with Guy and then answering your questions after as well.
So I'm going to do a brief overview about the portal, who we are, what we do, and then just talk a little bit about the context, certainly in the UK, and a bit about how social value is measured. And then Anna, pass on to Anna, who's going to talk specifically about how to embed social value into the full life cycle process of a development. That's from, inception, planning through to construction to in use. If you could do the next slide, please, Anna. A bit about our business first. Social Value Portal, we've been around since 2015, and we've developed a platform that helps organizations answer that question: what contribution do we make to society? So we do it at a corporate level, but we would also do it at a project level. And Anna and I are going to specifically talk to you about how we can help you guys measure the social value or the social contribution that a new development or an existing development makes to society. We break that down into social, economic and environmental aspects. And we'll explain how that works in a bit more detail. But the platform itself looks at engaging stakeholders, developing a strategy. We look at measuring outcomes, tracking performance from a social value perspective, and then of course driving improvement along the way. As a platform, we get involved in not only measurement and reporting, but also procurement, and a lot of our client base are actually councils, both during their procurement and also the planning process. Next slide, please, Anna. So where does it all start? So I'll give you a uniquely UK perspective, although there is a European overlay over this. So the Social Value Act, which came out in 2012, was implemented in 2013. That requires all public sector authorities, bodies to consider social value in their procurement decision making. There is a sort of sister acts in Wales called the Future Generations Act, and another act in Scotland called the Procurement Reform Act. They all basically do the same thing, which is placing social value at the centre of decision making, specifically around procurement. That's now been extended to look at goods, works and services, so everything basically that's being bought. But central government have just published their latest finding just last week, saying that all procurement decisions are going to have a minimum weighting of 10%. Now, what we are finding is that because this act is delivering so much benefit, that the planning authorities are now beginning to sort of get in on the act. So they're saying, look, they're looking over the fence and seeing that the procurement teams are delivering, additional jobs, skills, volunteering into the community, and the planners are saying, well, we also want to embed this into the planning process, which is, I guess, where it lands firmly within the real estate world. Next slide, please, Anna. So we've obviously got the legislative drivers and now the planning drivers. And just to put that in perspective, from a planning perspective, I think there's probably 15 to 20 councils that now are already embedding some form of social value statement in their planning requirements. So Islington, Salford, Manchester City Council, Coventry are looking at it, Southwark. And so, it really is driving the real estate sector. But actually, of course, there's so much more that the real estate sector feels responsibility for. Climate change, the global goals, and then, of course, we've all been hit badly by COVID. And the question is, how can we build back better, greener and fairer? And sitting at the top of that, I guess, to a certain extent, we've got our investors. And more and more investors are now talking about purpose with profit, not only what's our financial return on investment, but what is our social return on investment. And that's at the center of everything that we do, is to develop that social return on investment. Next slide, please, Anna. So our measurement framework cuts to the core of this. It's called the National Social Value Measurement Framework. It's been 2 years in development and been upgraded. We first launched it in November 2017, and we just did a sort of our third update in 2020. It's made up of a series of themes, outcomes, and measures, and that's why it's known colloquially as the National TOMs. And if you type into Google, you'll be able to get access to the framework. What's important about the framework, it provides, a single measurement framework, single reporting standard that provides that consistent measurement framework. It provides a level playing field for all businesses to measure their performance, but also provides a framework to allow us to compare real estate investments. The other really important thing about the National TOMs is that they have been endorsed by local government, which means it's relevant in the planning process. And also we've mapped them against the global goals. So when you use the National TOMs, you'll be able to not only meet requirements for local government, but also you'll be able to report against the global goals. And Anna will show you how that works. Next slide, please, Anna.
Thanks, guys. So everyone's now got some hopefully useful context about social value and the drivers, various drivers, but clearly we want to talk to you in detail about how this is most relevant to real estate development. And over the past few years, we've been really focusing our efforts at how social value can be maximized throughout different stages of the development life cycle. So there are ways of getting involved all the way through the pre-planning and planning process, then throughout the construction period, and then ultimately how it's occupied and managed. And I spend the next couple